Tim stared at his toaster. It was smoking. That was weird. The toaster shuddered violently. It glowed bright blue. Tim rubbed his eyes. This was not normal toaster behavior. With a deafening bang, the toaster vanished. In its place was a note. It read, "Gone to get the perfect toast. Be back soon. Your friendly neighborhood toaster." Tim blinked. This is going to be a long day, he sighed. Tim grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher, just in case. He wasn't sure what had just happened. Maybe it was the coffee. He took a large gulp. The coffee tasted like adventure. He braced himself. Whatever was going on, he was along for the ride. Besides, who could resist the allure of perfect toast? He hoped the toaster knew what it was doing.
The air crackled with static. Tim felt a sinking feeling in his stomach. He looked around. Giant ferns towered over him. A dinosaur lumbered past, munching on a tree.
Uh-oh, Tim muttered. The toaster sat beside him. It was humming contentedly. Tim wanted answers. Why prehistoric times, he asked the toaster. The toaster, of course, did not answer. It was a toaster after all.
A caveman with a bone through his nose poked his head out from behind a rock. He grunted at the toaster. Tim held up his hands defensively. He wasn't sure how to explain the concept of a toaster to a caveman. The caveman pointed at the toaster. He then pointed at the dinosaur.
Tim shrugged. Maybe toast was the universal language.
The world spun again. Tim landed face first in a bowl of gruel.
Ah! He sputtered. That's disgusting! He looked up to see a table full of knights staring at him. They all pointed their forks at him menacingly. The toaster sat at the head of the table, glowing proudly. Tim sighed. This was getting ridiculous.
A knight in shining armor approached the toaster cautiously. He cautiously poked it with his sword. The toaster remained unfazed. The knight looked at Tim and shrugged. He then picked up the toaster and held it over his head.
"The toast of honor," he boomed.
The other knights cheered and banged their tankards on the table. Tim buried his face in his hands. This was not what he had signed up for. The world dissolved into a blinding white light. Tim shielded his eyes. When he opened them, he was surrounded by robots. Shiny chrome robots, all holding pieces of perfectly golden toast.
This is too much toast.
The toaster, perched on a pile of wires and circuits, seemed to vibrate with glee. It was a toast lover's paradise, or more accurately, a toast apocalypse.
Would you like some toast, human?
A particularly cheerful robot zipped up to Tim, offering him a piece of toast shaped like a heart. Tim politely declined. He had reached peak toast. He just wanted to go home. The toaster, however, seemed to be in its element. It was surrounded by admirers, all praising its toasting prowess. With another flash of light, Tim found himself back in his kitchen. The toaster sat on the counter, its blue glow fading. It hummed contentedly. Tim, covered in crumbs and smelling faintly of dinosaur, collapsed into a chair. What a day. He was exhausted.
Next time we're getting bagels.
The toaster, as if in response, ejected a single perfectly toasted piece of bread. Tim sighed. It was the best toast he'd ever had. He buttered it slowly, savoring the moment. Maybe time-traveling toasters weren't so bad after all. Tim took a bite of his toast. It was warm, crunchy, and perfect. Suddenly, the toaster shuddered. It began to glow again.
Not again.
The toaster pulsed with blue light. A new note materialized on the counter. It read, "Packing my bags, next stop, ancient Egypt. We're going to try to make toast for a pharaoh. Your toasty time-traveling pal." Tim stared at the note. This was his life now. He grabbed his coat. After all, someone had to make sure the pharaoh didn't get a burnt breakfast.